You gotta watch it.
Okay.
Great opening scene. Yeah, I don't test it.
So you must have shown it in class or something?
No, I could never show it.
Oh, okay.
Even I won't show it.
Oh, all right, then I gotta see it.
Yeah. Pretty good. It's classic, so. All right, we're just gonna wait a couple. Thank you all for coming. This is a nice little gathering tonight. Except for Gabriel, I think this is the rest of y'all's first river barge reading. Gabriel's been in attendance. He's still refusing to read. I don't know Mike very well, but we know Connor very well.
Okay.
They all
Nice.
reading, so.
Oh, yeah. I
Who's a real prodigy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should hear that guy play guitar or piano.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's actually. He speaks Greek. He speaks Latin. He plays guitar.
Wow.
He played a cover of Bruce Springsteen's Atlantic City on the banjo.
Hey, so is it his dad?
Of course.
Ah! That's crazy.
Yeah.
Nice.
By normal, I don't exactly know what I mean by normal, but I know that he's not like a prodigious guitar player or intellectual, but he does just fine.
He does just fine.
And his mother is a sweetheart. So anyway,
Huh.
all right, you want me to get this started?
Before you do,
Dan is coming.
Oh, Dan is coming.
I'll shoot.
Dan is the poet laureate of Haverhill,
Yeah,
Massachusetts.
he's.
We were talking about how we put on the poet light, just like a quill in the sky. Dan arrives. Yes, exactly. When we had COVID, we did online readings for the reading series, and Dan would be in a very dimly lit room and be drinking wine, probably Calarossi, like literally out of a chalice, which is good. And you wait till you hear him read; it's fantastic. He's like the real deal. So. All right, cool.
While we wait, just housekeeping items. If you do need to use the restroom, we have one. It's just through that back door. Before you exit, take the key that has the paint stick on it, and it's just the first door on your right. So, just so you know. And we're Creative Haverhill. We're an arts nonprofit organization, so we exist to support our arts and creative sector in whatever way that evolves throughout the year. And the Bards Poetry Series is one of those programs that we've supported for a decade now. And I was saying, Jackson, right, as you walked in, that having you guys here share your poetry is absolutely our favorite time of the year. So thank you for doing that. We really appreciate it. Once we get started, we're very excited.
We can just start, yeah.
All right.
Tom, how many marathons have you run?
About 15. 5 Bostons. Last one in 2019. We're waiting for Dan Spears, but I want to say thank you. The Haverhill River Bards is a poetry group that's been around for 10 years. Any of you been to a reading before? Haverhill River Bards? That's okay. Thank you for coming. So we're delighted to have you here. We have 3 readings in spring and 3 in the fall. And we wouldn't do this without Creative Haverhill. They've been terrific. They've been with us from the beginning. And that's exciting. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to your faculty member, Cody Kucker, who is a member of the Haverhill River Bards, an incredible poet himself.
There comes Dan. Welcome, Dan.
Dan Spears, Haverhill's Poet Laureate.
Well, I guess you're wondering why I called this meeting, huh? Thank you.
All right, Cody, turning this over to you.
Typically, the 10th anniversary turnout was very inspiring. So this place was packed. There were not enough chairs. Hi.
Sorry.
That's a good boy.
He listens sometimes.
That's all right.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. Thank you. He has to say hi to people. Thank you. I'm sorry. Hey, Murphy.
Did you mark a phone? Can you get a phone for us?
I know. I'm so sorry.
Stop apologizing, right? They made me laugh for
He has to say hi.
There's a lot of people in here who need an emotion. That's great. All right. Welcome. Thank you all for coming tonight. It's an honor to be here. I'm very thankful for Dan and Tom and Erin for all the great work they do around the city and for inviting us to participate in the Bards reading series every single year in May, which is an event I look forward to. It's one of the things that keeps me going in a world that is obviously animated by a number of dark forces, both large and small. Nonetheless, we are here tonight for this reading with this great view. I love the view, by the way, sitting here at the glass of just like the city doing its thing. I love Haverhill, as you know. I have the Haverhill tattoo. My favorite city, yes. It's a very, very poorly done tattoo. It's entirely authentic, organic from Haverhill, by a Haverhill non-tattoo artist, resident. I love the town, I love poetry. I am honored to work with the students that are here to read tonight. They're your children, you know them, but I hope it's hard, I think, for... Nerd alert. Gosh, morbid. But I think it's nice for y'all to be here because you probably don't know this part of your children as well, or maybe you do. But I know as a young poet that the things that were going on in my journal, it's really hard for people to relate to and understand in a way that you find to be satisfactory. I think as a poet, even when you read poems, especially to your family, the responses to your poetry is nothing short of infuriating, even when it's just good, right? Like, oh, that's very nice. Like, please tell me everything that's wrong. So it is an opportunity to see a side of your children that a lot of the world doesn't get to see. It's a very lonely life being a young creative person, especially a writer. A lot of things just exist between you and the page, right? You and the pen, you and your mind, you and your imagination. So I always look forward to this opportunity because I get to enjoy this every Thursday afternoon with these people. So it's the hour I look most forward to during my working life during the week on Thursday afternoons to sit with them and discuss aesthetics and discuss poetry and hear what they're writing and have some laughs. And truly, I mean it. I am filled with a great deal of gratitude to have them, all of them that are here. Like I said, there are a lot of bleak things that occur, particularly in the world of the systems and public education, and to be able to have that spark of hope stoked weekly is pretty nice, and I hope you get the same experience tonight. So, thank you all for coming. Thank you for Erin, Dan, and Tom for putting this together and running this series. Is anyone hankering to go first and read? No? Well, I'll start you off to get code. I just happen to have a couple poems, as you know. And then I will select you, but just to get the poetry rolling, I'll give you one and then we'll move forward. And I figure this is very fitting because when I wrote this poem, my younger sister was about a little older than you people's age, and she was wondering why no one cared about dance anymore. And as the students know, I'm adamantly opposed to dance. I think dance is the dumbest thing. It is torture. It's cruel and unusual punishment. You have to sit for 7 hours in an auditorium to watch someone do something for 4 minutes. Okay, this is kind of like what a poetry reading feels like. So this is just a poem for my sister, basically, that I gave to her, which she obviously didn't understand because she's family and it's poetry. But it was a lot about how, eventually the things that you like are just kind of yours alone, right? That, nobody has to pretend to like them anymore because you're of a certain age. So this may be useful or not, as the title says. When your passions become yours alone. What has been done to me, I do to you. And because we can't help but love the doers, they, of whom I now find myself among, must be innocent even in absence. Thus I know you will forgive, you will smile, you will spite, pity, you will blame and rage, and eventually you will cauterize the end of the reed through which you still blow ditties inspired by the features of your own sacred place. Now hidden and hallowed the way a path is lost to underbrush because the local kids have grown and gone. Your dragging more and more of you out there may elicit a search, but no. It is the chronic obliviousness of hearts you love but can't speak to that consumes you. All right, let me welcome Jackson Leahy to the podium here. Jackson is is also the epitome of a student athlete. I believe you just broke the freshman 800-meter record in the state of Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts? No, the school.
In the school, which has a lot going for it. There are a lot of athletes in Haverhill, and he's a poet.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. So my poem is called Wise, and here we go. Upon the year of truth, many lies have been said, taken for gospel, spreads like a blazing inferno. On and on men entertain their folly, no end in sight. They're our enemy, the scum of the earth. We're right, and you're wrong. The people long for honesty, words of purity, truth, never found again. We suffer in the truth. This remains always.
You got the floor.
No, this is it.
Oh, you don't have duality?
No, I don't.
I have a copy. Do you want it?
Sure, why not?
I'm sorry, dude. It's coming. I can get it if you want to read more.
No, it's fine.
You're good. I'll call you back. When this loads, I'll hand it to you.
Sure.
And you come back up.
No.
Anyways, our next poet is going to be Joshua Foreman. Joshua has been pestering me since the day he walked into Haverhill High School. I don't know how he found me. I think he found me, where do we find each other?
I found you 8th grade when I was listening to the announcements at the Loop program.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank God we found each other. Josh is an inspiring young man. He's into everything. He's thoughtful. He likes to traffic in the world of the spiritual. He writes a lot of different things in different modes, and I'm excited for you to hear them. So Joshua Foreman, come on down.
I have 3 poems. They're not really poems, they're like more letters to God, but they're part of my testimony. So if I can find it, they're like buried. The first one is called Conviction. My quaking lips overflowing with pearls originating from my glistening eyes, my knees aching from the pain of only understanding to fall when I feel Adonai's presence rapture my heart. Only the name that bears the dominion in the infinite spiritual warfare holds deep the true might to make me suffer such helling torment, notwithstanding the uttermost divine love that reveals itself in the shape of a T. My God, why have you forsaken me? He shouted for the heavenly beings that Babel could not betake to give ear. But do not be casted into a bottomless pit of shame, for the red-stained wrists that declared this poetry did not intend for many to fall short in the I Am's glory. For the vanquished and betrayed, who bore not the slightest of crimes against the Most High, roared only this to fulfill the king's prophetic sonnet a millennium prior to the erudition of any mortal. The times in which my knees are gashed from pouring my weight onto the floor, only one shall be engraved into my vast memory for all eternity. The single event in which my legs did not undergo crucifixion, from dusk till the waking light of dawn shined into my pupils, did I catch a true glimpse of what the shivering echoes of damnation, along with the never-ending song of holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come, simultaneously filling each ridge of my ears. Yet the anointed one who underwent far worse than I did sits directly behind me, directly behind my shaking back and loud cries for help, showing me truly divine comfort. I pray to him, and that one person would hear my cries. He did. I have another one. You can find it. This one is called Jesus Wept. Jesus wept, John 11:35. Oh, the tragedy. It was not only a wound to his neck, yet fatal to our hearts, which pour the dark blood of sorrow through this land. It was the color of his own blood in which he had fought a treacherous battle to protect from the hellish rhetoric of the trembling rebels of this lost nation. The magnificent heavens wrapped in blue, always viewed as an emblem of peace. No matter how dark it reduced to, the color would never fail to return back into the reflection of our eyes as we stare at its mesmerizing beauty. Yet from that very same place in which we call home, attacks blew over our dumbfounded heads. A war only fought in order to take, not our lives, but our hope. Shifts in this God-created world that no person could ever see past. A turning point truly did happen 2 days in a row, 24 years apart. The separation of our only Creator turns into only evil. There is none beyond him, only the screams of those who had fled this world far before their time should have come due. But how much can we achieve to take one another's souls from just Sabbath to Sabbath? These bright tablets were constructed to grow our information, but why? It has only stabbed my heart rather than expand my mind, for my great influence did not deserve to flee so early, but it has happened once before. And then the last one is called Hosanna, and as a little context, I just wrote it during Easter time. Say to the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a beast of burden. Zechariah 9:9. You were humbly delivered on the animal of burden, the burden you were soon to bear. People saw and recognized a king, the king. Why can't these of the modern day cry out, Hosanna, as those of strong faith did, who just knew Scripture? Through my days I walk past people in the hall who wear their silver crosses around their necks, but don't even carry the wooden one that had been held by the one that they represent only by their fashion. The donkey's legs did not tremble from bearing the weight of innocence, but his from bearing the weight of our disobedience, crashed into Golgotha. Nails that pierced his hands and his feet, a crown of thorns that stabbed every inch of his skull in the land of the skull, and a sign in the same place that mocks what he represents for us, that we too mock. But just as the people cried out, come down from the cross if you are the Son of God, we cry out, why can't he approach us in this day? He did end up returning from the splinters of the cross, just as he will end up on the Mount of Olives, and he will not be on the foal of a donkey, but riding fiercely on the back of a grand horse, and he will not carry a staff, but a great sword.
Josh Foreman, what rhythms. Who would have knew such a nerd could do that? Just joking. A little dry Millie Hopkins. That was very nice. My God, my God. Very good. Thank you. Did you find your poems? Did you want to add on to your reading?
Yep.
Come on up, Jackson. Come finish your reading.
Duality. Bridges are supposed to hold people up. Then why is mine crashing down? I stand at a bridge, one where a single choice decides my fate. Will I go or go back? For I know the right, yet still choose the wrong. It's all the same, white and dark, day and night. They each come once, it's a guarantee. But what isn't is what comes next. The ball is in my court now, and that is the heaviest thing of all.
All right, well, our last prepared poet is Olivia File. Speaking of poet laureates, maybe the future poetess laureate of America in general. I hope she'll read all her poems. They are very good. They're sharp. They are tonally impeccable. If you read any Louise Gluck, it's very reminiscent of the Wild Iris, but she has many other modes as well. So you're in for a real treat. And this is her first time reading.
Before I started reading, I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Kucker. Prior to his class and his creative writing club, I had never shared my poetry, but his insistence brought me here, so big thank you to him. Okay, the first one is called A Wantful Hunger. What is beauty if not the divine bleeding into our world? It remains simple to rejoice in these delights. The realm of the tangible is made easy to worship. The all-consuming stands at the doorway, slanted smile, beckoning wave. Don't be fooled by your mortal soul. These things that feed you, fuel you, are embers to ash. They offer no satisfaction, secured not on this plane, knotted to something cosmic. Off the plates of the divine, in their holy banquet hall, plucked here and there, are morsels of a feast on which I've gorged. The dinner of desires offers you a seat. This holy hunger is not quelled, a salt-parched thirst I've eaten and I'm starved. Teeth rotted by the tenderness of the fruits, the tongue will run across the empty socket. Forget that it's there, forget that it's gone. The second one is called Late Fruit. It's July and everything tastes urgent. The sky bruised with thunder, mottled and sore. The world young and trembling like a rapid pulse trapped beneath skin. The heat hums low under the ribs of the day. The scent of rain pools against the hollow of the throat. August arrives on tiptoe, tasting of overripe fruit. The last drip of honey that clings to a spoon, lingering, slow and tired. Under the bones of dusk, the fever of the year hums faint. August breathes sugar, smelling of motion, forgetting its urgency, the flavor of something just passed. And then these next few follow like a similar format.
Say more about the format.
They're like letters. Is that sufficient? Okay. I will travel and I will go, foot to pavement, far, farther away, until the rest of me is met. To be sedentary is unfit. The weight of the soul cannot brittle you in motion. Yours in movement always, my advisement. And this is a second one. When I stir in the night and awake to the enveloping silence, when the weight of potential begins to consume, there's a stillness in the cicadas and the morning sparrows taking flight. The wind that whisks, producing movement in the curtains, the cutting call of the loon through the stagnant sky, and the steadfastness of the trees. Yours in awe, always, a dweller. The earth has never learned to keep a thing. The evening long since knelt to blue, dusk in its slow dissolve, stirring the bitter perfume of soil, the patient rot of summer's symbols, promises of May's vibrance, the green delirium and sun-warm close of July, hot-pressed hands streaking glass and tender flesh. What plea would make the season stay? What persuasive affection? What utterance would ask the frost to not silver the gardens, not to spoil the apples bruising in their bowls, decay scenting the air? By dawn, the frost takes the field, pale hand in the happening. Yours in the sweet undoing, beauty and beauty brief. Just one more. Is it enough that we have been young together? Not nearly. I must slip out quietly from this room. You'll come too. It'll grab your hand and we'll race back to a time when our largest enemy was a small hole in the sidewalk that caught the wheels of our bikes. Not nearly was it enough to be young alongside you. Yours in memory always, your sister.
You know, you have to read that last.
I don't have it in here.
Oh, I happen to have it. And I have the internet. Sorry, that's my favorite question right now.
While he's looking that up, one of the really great things about being a young poet is the poetry that you're reading is called the Solarian poem. It's letters to yourself in a way. But you write a poem when you're 18 or you're 19, that poem has a life of its own. When you read that poem again when you're 27, you're reacquainting yourself with your past. You are having a conversation with someone you once were. So all the poetry you write lives with you every day of your life. And the new poems that you put together become part of the old poems, become part of the new. So while he's doing that, I thought it would be kind of interesting for people to see how your poetry can live, not just tonight, but for years and years to come.
So fondly of you does the moon speak, like a flock of tongues holding the gentle caress of your name. The world's treasures dull at its utterance.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Hello.
I started.
Please begin again.
Yeah, please begin.
So fondly of you does the moon speak, like a flock of tongues holding the gentle caress of your name. The world's treasures dull at its utterance, sandpaper wearing memory, smoothing the mineral to dust. The parts of you enjoyed, everlast.
I have some of your work on.
No.
Is it?
And if you do, I don't want to read.
What? Sorry.
Oh.
Come on. I can assure you of that. I don't know if it will be written in English or German or Greek, but it will be rhetorically explicit. I can guarantee that. Those Haverhill High School poets. We had a couple more poets that obviously, as poets happens with poets, get distracted by fine weather and sunshine and long dusks. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed that. The poetry is obviously a very high quality, various in its intentions and modes, and absolutely delightful. So now you get a dose of what I get to enjoy on a weekly basis. I'm a very fortunate man. So thank you all very much for your support. Well, since we're at poetry reading, I'll leave you with one more poem. Unless do you have poems?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Dan, why don't you guys come on up and then regale us with some of the great works. Can we get a reading from the Poet Laureate tonight? A little treat?
Yes, if you like.
All right, well, Dan Spears, come on down.
You know, we live in one of the greatest towns, one of the greatest communities in the world, and we have our own really very famous John Greenleaf Whittier. And when I'm speaking about talking to poets, talking to yourself, many years ago I decided that to learn poetry, I had to talk to poets. I had to talk to real poets. It was helpful if they happened to be alive, but it wasn't totally necessary. And I will tell you that I learned a great deal from poets who, well, I would have accused them of plagiarism had they not died before I was born, because their poetry was so beautiful. I'll tell you, the poets that I really loved when I was very young kind of taught me how to write poetry. And that's how I learned. Probably the most imitated poet in the world is the poets that you love. Because when you have a poet that you care for and you love, no matter when they lived, you keep thinking of them and their poetry in your mind. So our own John Greenleaf Whittier relied upon Scottish poets, Robert Burns, for example, to learn how to write his poetry. And his very first poem that he wrote was a kind of homage to Robert Burns, although in those days it was not considered to be quite plagiarism. This is very, very close. everywhere I go, people ask me to read particular poems. There's one that they always ask me to read, and it's called The Barefoot Baby Boy. John Greenleaf Whittier wrote a poem called The Barefoot Boy, which was published in 1850 in Pilgrim, which is a publication back then. And this poem became one of the most popular poems ever written in schools. When I was a boy in school, I had to memorize that poem, as did many other students. Now, John Greenleaf Whittier is the only poet whose birthday was actually celebrated in public schools in America in the late 1800s and early 1900s. His birthday was in December, and every year people would celebrate John Greenleaf Whittier's birthday. Now, The Barefoot Boy is it's an idyll. It's sort of a country poem, much like Robert Burns, as mentioned earlier, this English idylls on that style of classical poetry. And if you get a chance, you should read that poem because it's a great poem. Well, several years ago, one of my grandsons, without my permission, I assure you, gave birth to another baby boy. And I was holding my little grandson, great-grandson, in my arms, and his little bare feet were sticking out under the blanket. And I thought, I wonder if John Greenleaf Whittier, who wrote The Barefoot Boy, what if the barefoot boy in his poem grew up? And he had sons, and their sons had sons, and eventually he was holding his own grandson in his arms, and he sees those bare feet. And he thinks, I was once the barefoot boy, and you are the barefoot baby boy. So I wrote a poem called The Barefoot Baby Boy, which, ever since I'd written it, I introduced it at the Whittier Poetry Festival a few years ago. I read it all over the state. The governor of the state, Maura Healy, gave me a citation after reading this particular poem. And wherever I go, I take these little books with me because someone in the audience always asks, can I have a copy of that? So I'll sign it. But this poem is called The Barefoot Baby Boy. Greetings to you, little man, newly born, cheeks not yet tan. With your turned up nose, bright eyes, every moment's a new surprise. Never lose that is my advice. Curiosity and wonder suffice to shower sunlight on your face and fill to brim your jaunty grace. You, great-grandson, give me joy, for I too was once a barefoot boy. No prince am I, the grown-up man, wizened and wrinkled and elder span. Yes, today I ride as others do for ease and speed and something new. Now 8 decades come and gone since barefoot I roamed along, seeing worlds of others cannot see, the fields, the streams, the old oak tree, outward sunshine, inward joy. It's still true, barefoot baby boy. Long ago, when I was a lad and summer rustic, mostly clad, I had no need for penance rules with my trust in nature schools. Through whispering forests I did wend every creature a forever friend. Beneath a canopy sunlit dappled, speckled leaves and twigs that crackled, watching bees in search of nectar. How diligent each collector. Sometimes a breeze restless, twitching, sometimes still, quietly bewitching, as is listening for tranquility. From crows that lack civility, are those risible mockingbirds with a chatter that rattles like words, while meadows and fields spread wildflowers in verdant beds, green and golden grass arise, applauding the dance of butterflies. And far away the horizon beckons, majestic peaks brushing heavens, creeks beginning streams, gurgling eddies, teasing tadpoles burn, glistening trout chasing dragonflies, devouring the nymphs as they rise. With ironwood and bog beans beside, streams into rivers spreading wide. This way or that, an easy choice. guided by will and tree bark moss. To walk, to fish, to swim, to play, my idol surely nature's way, adventure cloaked in ambience, embracing a boyhood by chance, though I strove to be forever young. It was almost over before begun. Long ago, those days and time did seize, when my boy's heart was at ease. The cuts and scrapes and bruises blue, the sassafras bark I love to chew, the berries I pick between the thorns, the sweetness in those honeysuckle horns, the crisp juice of apples freshly picked, hot marshmallows still cooling on a stick, summer cooling with autumn's order, pale yellow leaves fleeing as safe armor. Like goslings swarming, tumbling, and gaggles of wild turkeys grumbling. The sunlit days, the starry skies, the simple joy and the simple sighs. The smell of wood smoke at dawn, biscuits and gravy stifling a yawn, pumpkins and haystacks of Halloween, the corn maze and sis's scream. So many years now done. My life has spun, so many battles, some lost, some won. My sons now have sons of their own. Seeds and cycles of life fully sown. Still, somehow that boy in me remains. Dirt-streaked feet with grassy stains. Seasons turning, the years flown past, never knowing which is the last. For you, my dear baby boy, this lore, savor each moment nature has in store. The world will grow and foster change, both past and the future. They're always strange. For boys, both then and now who dream, your hope takes flight and faces beam. So much to live, so much to see. My gift to you, this memory, that day by day as you grow tall, no barefoot days still live in all. Yes, you too can know the joy ere it passes, barefoot baby boy. And if you go to Haverhill Library, you'll see the statue in the middle of the library. This is the barefoot boy that's in the library. And the first lines of Whittier's poems are in the little pedestal by the reflecting pool that's in there. And Whittier's poem is also included in the book. And it says, blessing upon thee, little man. Thank you.
Tom, I can go. Can you go? Yeah, okay. Just stay safe.
Thank you everyone for coming, and you have to leave, it's okay. But we have some other readers. Next one is Ian Davidson from Haverhill, who reads all around Merrimack Valley. He's actually been reading, he's in big demand at assisted living facilities where he reads his poetry. So, Ian.
I do nature poetry, and like you were saying, I volunteer with my poetry at assisted living places, and I've entertained over 2,000 residents in assisted living, and they really get joy from my poetry. I say I get paid with smiles. Totally volunteer, and the joy I bring to them is what inspires me. So here's a couple little nature poems. This is called King of the Mountain. Snowy peaks on rocky peaks, only few dare to roam. Sure-footed feet, rock to rock they leap, the mountain goat calls us home. High up in the alpine air, afraid of heights, has no fear. You might be king of the hill, but I am king of the mountain. This one's a little story. I call this All in the Eye of the Beholder. So one day I was out with my friends, and we were walking in the woods, and we heard two owls calling each other. One's going hoo-hoo over here, and the other one's going EU over here in these trees. So I go this way, my friend goes this way. So I go this way and I hear hoo-hoo, and there's a big, great horned owl up in the tree. My friend's waving me over, "Ew, ew." And I walk over to him, I go, "You idiot, those are vowels." This is one of my most environmental poems I've written, and this is called Spot. Here I stand, taking this spot. If I don't, I would not. Who knew such beauty so close at hand, still untouched by hand of man? Keep it secret, tell a few, more would come if they knew. If you don't, if you not, man will come and wreck this spot. And this is my last one. This is called Plan B, or Sometime the Mountain Wins. I went to climb a mountain, didn't make it to the top, and that's all right. It was a nice walk. Didn't reach the summit, didn't care, just nice to be out in the fresh air. The mountain be there tomorrow, I'll climb another day. That's at Plan B again, doesn't get in the way. Best to keep your wits and know when to quit. Sometime the mountain wins.
I'm going to read one of my, there's at least one runner here, so I'm going to read one of my running poems. This is from our Voices of the River Bards, our 10th year anthology, which we celebrated last reading. And those of you who know the city, you're all Haverhillites, will recognize these locations. This is called Bradford Scene. I stumbled out the door later than planned. Do a few easy stretches, set my watch, and walk the yard, picking up sticks and bits of trash. Walking out the driveway to Agawam Street, jog a few paces to Salem Street, turn right toward Groveland, crossing Salem to the sunny side. Half a mile down, I cross back onto Boxford Road, run alongside holes 7, 8, and 9 on the Bradford Golf Course to my halfway point on a 5-mile run. At the top of Boxford Road, it splits with Lily Pond to the right and Oak Ridge to the left. I take right to Chadwick Pond, and running downhill, I see 3 guys ice fishing. There is open water on the southern shore. Seeing 2 walkers nearby, I comment about the fishing. That looks a bit dangerous to me. And one responds, the ice is 12 inches thick. Running along the pond, I stop and turn at my 2.7-mile mark, closer to the fishing and their gear, including a large auger bit that had drilled several holes. Scattered about the pond, I see 8 to 10 red flagged lines. Suddenly, one pops up, and a guy rushes to it. He pulls up a large pickerel, proudly waving it towards his buddies. Icy success on a Sunday run. Peter Bryan, he's doing a video, and by the way, this will be available to be seen on YouTube at Haverhill Bards.
Unless you don't know Peter.
But yeah, if you don't want to be in it, tell him and he'll edit you out, okay? That's the important part.
The other thing I would say is that I've got a list of poetry events in the local area, and there's quite a lot going on all the time, so when you go, please take a copy of the list. The last time I was here, it was for the 15th of April, and it was celebrating us bringing the book together, and you can see the book there. And I've got a little prelude poem from the book before tonight's poem, and I was very happy at the time. It's called Morning Joy. There is wonder in the morning with joy. I have noticed that being alive is good. It's in how the dawn trees appear out of the dark void, how they gradually materialize and the branches give me a cheery wave. In the dog being so gorgeously still asleep, the dog is Max, by the way, and he's a very happy dog. I hope he's still alive. He usually is. In how they hear the dog shaking as he wakes up, in the unbelievably long pee as he starts to walk. So that was the little prelude. That was a happy poem. Max is dead. It is the news it was me that did choose to make it so. And in the end, was it me that was his friend? He was smiling, keeping true, doing all that he could do. He found walking so very hard, but he could make it across the yard. He was feeling quite some pain, keeping on going, did not complain. He did not want to let us down. Brown eyes smiling, he'd never frown. How could I choose to make him die? I really don't understand why I didn't leave it to the heavenly choice. Who am I to use my voice? He looked at me with big brown eyes. He couldn't really understand the whys. Could we not tolerate a mess? Wasn't that bad, I must confess. With aged humans, we do strive to make their bodies stay alive. The cost of this is often immense. Who to us does this make sense? 'Tis true Max's plumbing was somewhat breaking. He could not tell that he was aching. But he was happy with us, his friends. Is this the way it always ends? Also true Max's walking was somewhat poor. He kept on falling on the floor. And getting up he could not stand. He offered need a helping hand. But he didn't mind, did not make a fuss, as he was happy there with us. How I wish we could explain what is life with too much pain. We do not put our humans to sleep. They're a promise that we try to keep. Unless the plane is really bad. I did not know I'm his dad. How much inconvenience does it take to make a decision about his wake? And what does he want? Then again, what is life with too much pain? Max still goes on, we cannot fail to appreciate his wagging tail. And to appreciate, it's not too rude, he still admires his love for food. And then on the 1st of May, Max passed. And it's kind of ironic that it was about being happy with him in April, and we knew he was in some sort of trouble. And this was the morning after I got up at 5 in the morning. I thought, how did I possibly decide to do this? Could we have waited another day? But I mean, probably many of you had had animals and been through the same torture. But anyway, he was a wonderful boy.
Anyone else want to read? No?
I'll read one.
All right, go for it, Barry.
I don't have any, I don't have any happy poems either. Trying to write a happy poem here and there. Actually, I have a couple of happy poems, but they're bad. This poem's called Pond at West Meadow Hill. West Meadow Hill's 800 Broadway. You know that little condominium complex up there? There's a beautiful little pond on the right. If you don't walk down the trail, you didn't know that. It's great for pond hockey and it's great for sitting in the summertime. Little quiet place. Pond at West Meadow Hill. At places we sat, sit children still. The growing boulder the pond is shrinking away from this summer. Its stagnant water turning algae a darker brown, forcing sunfish to congregate at the clear lip a foot opening in a sumac arbor. Their blue fins brightening as curiosity draws them to the surface for leaves they thought they wanted, but did not. On my way to the pond, a girl was running back to her house with her dog. She had red hair curled not as tightly as his, though their colors were close. Seeing me, she slowed and straightened, and her flip-flops calmed their flapping. Strange, her new poise made me unsure of her age. A young woman maybe just moved in with her boyfriend, out running in summer rags because she thought she was alone and liked this route out to the rock 2 boys happened to be sitting on. But then I realized she was their sister, the eldest, returning from telling 2 younger brothers to come in from off the rock before the thunder came. And after she was down the path and gone, they finally stood. They stood next to each other, still talking, skipping last stones, and they were each interested in what the other was saying. They were conversing, avid, kindly, as we might with new friends were still intent on making. as we might have on that rock, times we don't recall because there was nothing to feel guilty about now. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. What a wonderful evening. So, thank you very much.
Others, I mean, I could just bore you to death here.
Please.
All right, I'll do that. This is one, gosh, which one do I read here? These sort of spring poems. It's called Bird Bath. Ice has almost melted in our bird bath. Robins no longer need to peck holes to take a drink. From the hall window, the yard is spotted, snow and deep brown with small patches of green. I carry lawn chairs under the back deck, brush off dirt and dust from their cellar storage. I walk the yard, picking up items of trash, pavement pieces from the plow driver's pushing of snow, plastic straws and empty nips thrown over the fence. My hands fill with junk. Looking up as the sun breaks through clouds, gloom shifts. I reach in and pick out the last chunks of ice from the bird bath. And that's a nice transition to one more for me. Vernal. Rosemary, lavender, sage, and mint. Sentries at the slider door window, leaning east into the late March sun. Mix of light and shade spread across their frayed brown, green, leafy desires. House cats, Rusty and Mimi, rub their bodies and heads into the mint. What do they think? Suddenly the sun burst into full shine and the plants appear taller. A sparkling view in contrast with the gray and brown yard drunk, butts, beer cans, and candy wrappers blowing about. Spring mix. Okay.
Later on this summer, we have two events that are upcoming, and both of which will be at John Greenleaf Whittier's farm. One is on the in September, which is the annual fall festival at Whittier's farm, and a group of poets will be performing from Haverhill and the valley at the old barn that's there in Whittier's estate. And then on August 19th is the Saturday afternoon, it's from 10:30 in the morning till 2 p.m. We have the Summer Poetry Festival at Whittier's Farms, and it's going to have an open mic. And we usually have, about 20 poets or more there, and a really nice crowd of people come to see that. So those are the two of the poetry events that we have coming up. And then, of course, Tom will, when he closes out in a few minutes, will announce next month's poetry impressionable poetry, you see. Not to continue a theme, but I'm going to. Remember I was talking about chatting with poets? Well, years ago, I had this idea that I would write a play. And in the play, there's myself, and there's a lot of other poets. And this is a little scene of all the other poets. Now this is a woodcut, and obviously it's in my imagination. But there's Emily, just a bunch of poets, you can look it up and see, you know. But if you want to write a conversation with poets, what you have to do is you have to read their poetry. And you have to understand what they were talking about, because their time and their period is poetry that was familiar to them. And we may not understand everything that they wrote. And you're going to hear from your teacher and others that Walt Whitman was one of the people who changed American poetry to go from the idyllic poetry of John Greenleaf Whittier to the more modern free verse and freestyle poetry. And Walt Whitman, he wrote a poem that he never finished. It's called Leaves of Grass, and it has, he spent his whole life editing that poem. And it was published, that book has been published probably, I don't know how many, I can't tell you how many, but maybe 20 or 25 or more editions. Because every time he edited it, he'd publish a new version of the same book. And I mentioned to Tom the other day, I said, you know, when you edit a poem, you're not really changing it. All you're doing is improving it. You know, you're taking one version and you're making it into a new version. Well, Leaves of Grass has 52 segments, each one representing 1 week of the year. And in the middle of this long poems in the book, he stopped in week 26 and he paused. And you can actually read this in his poem where he says he's going to pause and listen for other poets. So if you're reading his poem in week 26, you're supposed to stop reading at that point and talk back to Whitman. Tell him what you feel about what he is saying in that poem. And in fact, that poem is living forever. So I wrote a poem called The Promise because Whitman said, I promise to pause and listen to you, my fellow poet, to the future. So the promise is just my answer to him. But feel free to read Walt Whitman and see what he was saying and then stop and say, how would I answer that? And now, in answering that, you have to understand some other things. Walt Whitman was in a very incredible time of life. You know, Abraham Lincoln was killed when he was a poet, and he wrote, you know, my poem, my poem. He was at a time when the country was changing from an agrarian country to a more industrialized country. The farming was not the essential part of America. We were becoming factories, we were building things. There were steamboats, there was product moving. So he was in the city, he's in Brooklyn, and he was on the Brooklyn Ferry, and he was seeing all these people, crowds of people going to and coming from work. And he began to talk to them in his mind. And so I wrote The Promise, which was performed in Vienna and Philadelphia and Washington and various places. Even in Newburyport it was performed. And this is an excerpt from the play about Walt Whitman. The play's called Wow, Whitman on Walls. And the Promise is, there's a lot of people involved, and I did not write the whole play. The play was written by in Columbia University, but I just did a very small portion of it. The portion I did was on Walt Whitman's The Promise. And this is what we call an homage, which is in memory of Song of Myself by Walt Whitman. Oh poet, my poet, the journey paused. Your promise kept, your pledge to stop somewhere waiting for me, praising the tally of the meaning of all things, not in the search, but in the promise of an inalienable right to pursue what you and Jefferson called happiness. Now, both avant-garde and laureate, you have resolved to do nothing but listen. Listen in this mystery of hearing, to absorb and accrue to your song sounds once heard, and yes, those sounds that yet abound in a time still to be found. I'll respond. Oh poet, my poet, so many sounds you have heard, the sounds back then, the bravaros of birds, the hustle of growing wheat, the burst of flames, the city sounds in and out, day and night, back and forth, working sounds. Those are the sounds of your time, the creaks and groans of the natural earth, the clicks and clacks and strife of everyday life. Yes, the judges judge, some with mercy, some harshly, gavels rapping. Yes, the wars and stevedores, the cries of fire, carts and horses streaking. Yes, the funeral marches, flag-draped coffins, corpses by the score, year after year, war after war, wars that time gave us, wars that tore us apart while you paused, listening. You were there then. I know you were there. The waves of sound entering and engulfing your very being. Through you said, the voices of many will speak, and speak they did, and voices raised to reach a peak, a symphony of harmonious music, blending and endlessly conflicting opera in the chorus of your heart. Yet was there not an illusion of democracy, an inclusion where every sound belonged, each and every whine and screech, ooh and ah, grunt and gasp, creak, crackled and erupted upon a blessed silence breached? and yet welcoming its equality. Oh, poet, my poet. So many conflicting desires, so many troublesome images. Were not some sounds and the images they conjured more welcome than others? Images of a certain kind in a certain way, certain to be welcome and embraced, expectant and optimistic for the purity of all peoples, things, beings, urban, rural. Every fate and mood, every want may be a universal. These are the elements of your being, shared atoms among us all. Whitman once said that every atom of your being is as much a part of me because every atom of my being is a part of yours, and that we all share in this universe we live. We all share certain atoms. But, and that does go on much longer, but you get the feeling. The reference to the coffins was that the soldiers coming home from the Civil War. So many people died during that war, and the streets actually had, there were like horse-drawn caskets back at the beginning time. Any questions about Haverhill poetry, what I've been talking about, or anything at all? I've bored you silly then. Thank you all for coming. These things with Aaron and Tom and the other people who participate, it's a wonderful thing. And we're here on the third Wednesday of selected months. So do feel free to follow us on Creative Haverhill and come down and you don't have to be part of our group. Just show up, bring a point, and you'll meet a lot of wonderful people who may or may not be competing with Summer.
Okay, that ends our program. Thanks again for coming, especially the students. We meet again June 17th, and our poet is wonderful. She's from Scotland, Greater Edinburgh, Audrey Henderson. I think a lot of her work is about the workers who worked in the mines, which is very big over there. So she's an excellent poet. And the appropriate Scottish accent, that's who she is. So thanks for coming, and particularly my thanks to Cody and the students for sharing your words, your wisdom, your thoughts. That's what poetry is all about. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. I was reading a song of myself at the 92nd Street Y. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. My pleasure.